Namaste everyone. I am Mythili, your zoology faculty from Infinity Learn. So the Neet is done. What next? In case you have performed well, good for you, all the very best. We want you to be that world-class doctor. Just in case you have missed that train this time, we are with you. So instead of a quote, I've come up with a little story for you. Year 1979, there was this particular satellite to be launched into the orbit. The countdown begins, this countdown going on, and suddenly there's a flash on this monitor where it displays there's something wrong with one of the control systems aboard the launch. So the scientists think, and the chief scientist there decides that it is a minor fault which can be ignored and they can go ahead with the launch, and the launch is done. Instead of getting into the orbit, the satellite gets into the Bay of Bengal. Year 1980, they launch it very successfully back into the orbit. That scientist I am talking about is none other than Abdul Kalam ji. And the one who patted his back when the failure happened is Dr. Satish Dhawan. So how Abdul Kalam ji has described the word fail is first attempt in learning. He called it, how beautifully said, first attempt in learning. So not to worry at all, from being a dropper, you are definitely going to be there in Neet 2022. And if at all you are in your 11th, still our courses are going to help you in a very nice manner so that you will be there in the next 2 years. So hereafter, I'll be dealing with sessions both from 11th and 12th class, which will simultaneously help you with boards as well as your Neet examination. Right? So here we go. I have decided to start with a second year topic for today, which will be human reproduction chapter from zoology. I will alternate these sessions, which I'll be dealing with. Some of the sessions will be from the 11th class and some others will be from the 12th class. Parallelly, all the topics from both 11th and 12th will be covered in a very detailed manner so we can help you. Remember, these classes right now are being offered for free, so make the best use of these classes and hope you all do really well. Hope that story of Abdul Kalam ji inspires you, right? So let's go ahead with the human reproduction chapter. So let's deal with the branches. First, the branch of medicine which deals with the urinary system is what is referred to as urology. Urology is the branch of study that is dealing with the anatomy and the functionality of our urinary system. Andrology is being even more specific study in terms of male infertility as well, right? So male infertility and all is also being dealt as far as this branch of study goes, which is referred to as andrology, right? And in male reproductive system, let me give you a bird's eye view of what we are dealing with. It will be external genitalia, the primary sex organ, accessory ducts, as well as accessory glands. So these are what we are going to deal with in this particular small topic of male reproductive system. Remember, in human reproduction chapter also, we are going to do a detailed description of just the male reproductive system. We are not doing any more of those rapid revisions that we have done before Neet examination, where I would have completed the whole chapter in half an hour session. But here we are going to split them into smaller topics just so that you gain the most advantage. Those who are in their 11th also understand the whole thing and be able to answer the questions from the human reproduction, right? So the testis is not just the primary sex organ which is helping with the production of the spermatogenesis. It is something that is an endocrine gland as well, right? And the sperm that's produced, the gamete that's produced in the testis is transported all the way through what are referred to as accessory ducts. Ducts mean tubes, right? So the accessory tubes are those which are helping with the transport of the gamete. Accessory glands, their secretions are very, very important in terms of the human reproduction. These are the secretions that help not just their passage through the male reproductive system, but later when it enters into the female genital tract through the sexual intercourse. And of course the external genitalia, which is helping with the ejaculation into the female genital tract, which is the scrotum and the penis, right? So let's go ahead and start with the scrotum. What's a scrotum? It's a bag-like structure. It's a pouch-like structure. It is something that holds the testis. Now there are a pair of testes which are held in a sac-like or a bag-like, what is referred to as the scrotum. So it's a pouch-like structure. Now this is located extra-abdominally. What does that mean? It is outside of the abdomen. The scrotum are the pouch-like structures which are outside of the abdominal structure, right? These structures are located outside of the abdomen. Now why is that required? It maintains low temperature 2 to 2.5 degree lower. Very, very, very important point. You can mark this, highlight this in your NCERT text. It's a straight NCERT line where it says there's a lower temperature that is maintained in the scrotum. Why is this lower temperature required again? It is necessary for the spermatogenesis process. The spermatogenesis process is nothing but the production of the sperm. Just divide the word. I always keep telling you this biology is all about the words, right? So the spermatogenesis, sperm and genesis, its production, right? So the spermatogenesis process, for it to take place, the temperature should be slightly lower compared to the normal human body temperature, right? So that is maintained by the scrotum. The cremaster and dartos muscles that are associated with the scrotum does a very, very important function. If there's cold temperature, for example, on the outside, these muscles are contracting in order to pull the testis towards the body so that that warmth is maintained. Now this is one point that's not given in your NCERT, but still important, that these are the muscles which are helping with pulling the testis towards the body due to the ambient colder temperature. It does the other way around when there is a hot temperature outside. All it wants to do is maintain that temperature that's very much required for the spermatogenesis process, to occur. Now when this testis is actually undergoing this particular descent, initially when the human fetus is inside the mother's womb, the testes are formed abdominally, but they undergo descent. They are undergoing descent into the scrotum, from the abdomen into the scrotum through a inguinal canal. Inguinal canal is through which the testis makes its descent into the scrotum, right? So this is the descent that is taking place then when the fetus is about 7th month, when the fetus is about 7 months old inside the mother's womb. Remember, not after it is born, right? When it is about 7th month fetus, that's when this particular descent is taking place, so the spermatogenesis occurs. Just in case this doesn't occur, right, it's a condition referred to as the cryptorchidism. What is that condition called? Where the descent doesn't take place. It is what is referred to as cryptorchidism. Now it can be two ways. One testis doesn't descend, it is called unilateral cryptorchidism. Both the testes do not descend, it is what is referred to as the bilateral cryptorchidism, right? Obviously the descent is not taking place, so how does it affect it? Temperature again. So what maintained, which is 2 to 2.5 degree lesser than the human body temperature, sterility occurs. There may not be the spermatogenesis process that is taking place, so it leads to sterility, right? So from the slide, what is the take-home point? Scrotum is the pouch-like structure that holds the testis. This is present extra-abdominally. It maintains a lower temperature compared to the normal human body temperature. Now, as I told, testes are the primary sex organ which are helping with the production of the sperm. Also an endocrine structure which is helping with the production of the hormones. Now, there are a pair of them. How many testes are present? There are a pair of them. Length is about 4 to 5 centimeters and width is about 2 to 3 centimeters. Not to bother about the dimensions at all. So far, it was never asked in any of the NEET or any entrance examinations as far as dimensions are concerned. Then why give them? In order for you to understand the description of that particular organ, whether it is the liver weight in the digestion chapter later point of time, or kidneys later in the excretion chapter, right, where there are these dimensions that are given just so for our understanding, and imagine how large or small, how long or in width or in length or in their overall size these organs look like. Just for our understanding, these are provided. These are not some things that are asked in the entrance examination. So not to worry at all. No need to mug these dimensions, the numbers that are given, right? The testis is covered by a dense covering. Now this is one other important thing that I want your attention. Basically, in the NCERT text, not all the things are very explicit. There are several layers to the NCERT text which you need to understand in a better manner. Only this sentence is given direct from the NCERT. The testis is covered by a dense covering. What is this dense covering? It is Tunica albuginea. I am going to talk about it in the next slide again. It's the Tunica albuginea. Again, another word that you need to remember in your biology, where tunica means layer. It's a layer basically. Tunica, wherever you come across this particular word, it's a layer, outer covering, right? And this Tunica albuginea is something that is extending internally. You see this sky blue color, right? So this is something that is extending internally into the testis, and it forms what? Compartments or lobules. What do we call these? Testicular lobules. How many of these testicular lobules are there? About 200 to 250 of these testicular lobules are formed, none other than this Tunica albuginea, which is getting inside into the testis and dividing them into the compartments. Each compartment would have 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules. So inside you can see these coiled structures. What are these coiled structures? These are nothing but seminiferous tubules. These are the seminiferous tubules that are present inside in each of these compartments. How many are there in each of the compartment? There are 2 to 3. Right? So testis, there are a pair of them. These are the structures that are helping with the production of the sperm. They're helping with the production of the hormones as well. We are going to talk about them shortly. And this has a dense outer covering called Tunica albuginea, which divides the testis into a number of compartments, 200 to 250 compartments, testicular lobules, each of which will have 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules, right? So here goes another beautiful picture given by our graphic designers, where we are talking about how what are the layers around the testis, right? So we have already talked about Tunica albuginea. It's a dense irregular connective tissue which is extending to form the testicular lobules. There is an outer Tunica vaginalis as well, serous membrane. It is a double layered sac-like structure which is basically having fluid within. Okay, it's a double layered structure which has fluid within. Why this fluid? It allows the movement of the testis within the scrotum, right? It prevents that friction for the movement, right? It is basically helping with the movement of the testis. Such a nice mechanism it has, the Tunica vaginalis. And there is a septa that is dividing the testis into the lobules. I already talked about the Tunica albuginea. And the innermost layer is what is called as Tunica vasculosa. Wherever you come across vasculosa, vascular, it is something that is concerned with the circulation. So here we are talking about a rich supply of the blood vessels with this layer called the Tunica vasculosa. If at all you are asked a question in the Neet, what is the outer dense outer covering, you are going with Tunica albuginea. Mostly that is the question that is given, right? So Tunica vaginalis, again a little of extra info that I am giving, is one that's filled with the fluid which is allowing the movement of the testis. Sometimes there is rupture, there is a hydrocele condition also that is happening, right? And then we talk about the testis internally. It has these seminiferous tubules which I already mentioned. In between the seminiferous tubules, there is interstitial space. You see that pink colored, again a diagram that's taken straight from the NCERT, this pink shaded structure, this is nothing but the interstitial space in between the seminiferous tubules. There is some space which is what is referred to as the interstitial space. What does this interstitial space have? Leydig cells. Leydig cells are those which are responsible for the production of androgens, right? So androgens are the hormones that are secreted by the Leydig cells, right? And within seminiferous tubules, what is that lined by? They are lined by male germ cells and the Sertoli cells. Male germ cells are the ones which are eventually going to differentiate into the sperm, and Sertoli cells are the ones which are providing with nourishment to the sperm. They are the ones that are providing the nourishment to the sperm. We are going to talk about more as far as Sertoli cells are concerned in the next slide, but remember this is again a very important, I can't emphasize how important it is at your Neet level, because these are the questions almost, if you check past 10 years of previous Neet papers, you will find questions from these two, whether what are Leydig cells secreting androgens, which are the cells that are helping with the nourishment, that will be the Sertoli cells, which is the hormone that's secreted by Sertoli cell, another hormone called inhibin, and the whether it is the cell name or the function of it. This is a very important slide again that you need to remember, right? So here comes the functions of the Sertoli cells. They are helping with the nourishment. So what are they referred to as? Nurse cells. They are referred to as the nurse cells because they are very important in the nourishment of the sperm. Phagocytosis. Now you learn one more session I am definitely going to do as far as spermatogenesis is concerned. You will understand that a large something with lot of cytoplasm and immotile spermatid is something that's differentiating into nice and slender and motile spermatozoa. So this particular cytoplasm and all, it is basically phagocytosed by the Sertoli cells. So they do that important function as well. Secretion of inhibin, this is the hormone that I was talking about. This is doing a feedback control mechanism where it is telling not enough of FSH is required. I am going to talk about the hormonal control also shortly. So inhibin is one hormone that's secreted by Sertoli cells of male reproductive system, also granulosa cells of the female reproductive system, right? So there also we are going to talk about this. ABP, what do we mean by ABP? It's the androgen binding factor. Androgen binding factor. Why do we need this? The testosterone, the androgens that are secreted by the Leydig cells needs to be concentrated, and that is why we need the androgen binding factor, right? Androgen binding protein, sorry, ABP is what I have written. So let me write androgen binding protein. Then we also have AMF, which is anti-Mullerian factor. Now, why do we need this anti-Mullerian factor? Mullerian ducts are those which are present at the embryonic stage, which are eventually going to develop into female reproductive system. When the fetus is going to develop into the male, do we want these female reproductive structures to be developed? No. So it has to be suppressed, which is done beautifully by this anti-Mullerian factor. It suppresses the development of the Mullerian ducts, which otherwise develop into the female reproductive structures. It also forms the blood-testis barrier. Blood-testis barrier, very, very important function. Now, the sperm also has certain antigens which can be attacked or which can elicit that immune response in the human body, so that the sperm can be attacked. We don't want that to be happening. We don't want the sperm to be attacked by the body, right? So this is separated from the blood. Okay, we don't want any immune response to be elicited, so this is separated from the blood by this blood testis barrier. What is forming this blood testis barrier? These polyhedral Sertoli cells, which have these nice and tight junctions in between, they form the blood testis barrier. It forms a physical barrier, doesn't allow the sperm and the blood to be mixed, right? It controls the movement of the sperm and its release. When the sperm is released into the seminiferous tubules, we call it the spermiation. So that process is also controlled by it. I took another picture also just so that you understand this well. Look at this particular Sertoli cells into which the head is embedded, right? The release of it into this lumen is what is referred to as the spermiation. So you can see in this picture also a lot of sperm right in the lumen, right? So that is a process called spermiation, which is also regulated by our Sertoli cells. Leydig cells, these are the ones that are present in this interstitial space. What is present within will be male germ cells and the Sertoli cells, and what you find in this pink shaded area, these are nothing but the Leydig cells. Because they are present in the interstitial space, they are also referred to as the interstitial cells. And what is their function? Secretes androgens. Very, very important. What is the most important androgen that we keep talking about? Testosterone. Testosterone is the most important androgen that we are discussing. It is what is responsible for those secondary sexual characteristics. You adolescents would be undergoing a lot of changes during these years, where the facial hair develop, the axial hair develop. There's a lot of muscular growth that's happening that eventually is differentiating you from the females, whether it's your voice, which is turning into the low pitch voice. It's also the influence of androgens, which is thickening your vocal cords so that your voice becomes low pitch. So all these secondary sexual characteristics are mainly because of these androgens, the prevalent testosterone, right? So this is the hormonal control, nice flow chart that I have put up for you to understand the whole thing. In males, during puberty, the hypothalamus is something that is secreting what hormone? GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. This is what is responsible for release of gonadotropins. So it is called gonadotropin releasing hormone. Very nice and easy to remember that. That in turn is influencing a pituitary gland. So what does pituitary gland do when there is a cue from the hypothalamus? It starts secreting gonadotropins. And what are these gonadotropins that it is secreting? One is FSH, another is LH. Follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. What does follicle stimulating hormone do? It is influencing the Sertoli cells so that they are helping with the secretion of spermiogenesis factor. Remember, I did tell you this is also secreting another hormone, inhibin. This has a negative feedback mechanism so that FSH is not released. So when there is enough of testosterone, enough of spermatogenesis process taking place, we don't want any more of it. So the inhibin is something that says no, there is enough of the process that is taking place already. What does LH do on the other hand? It is influencing the Leydig cells. This slide, a lot of the Neet questions can be expected from this particular chart. So pay attention. The Leydig cells that are influenced by luteinizing hormone are the ones which are secreting androgens, especially what? Testosterone is something that we are talking about, and this sends a negative feedback mechanism to the secretion of LH. When there is enough of testosterone, there is already enough of it, don't want more of it, enough of it, so it is going to tell that there is enough of it, no more of it is required, so it is inhibiting the luteinizing hormone secretion. Androgens are helping with the spermatogenesis process. Yes, Sertoli cells also help it with the nourishment. The accessory ducts is what we are talking about, nothing but ducts which are helping with the transport of the sperm, right? You can see nice and see how the initially the seminiferous tubules here are helping with the production of the sperm, how it is going through a network of tubules called the rete testis, through the vasa efferentia into the epididymis, into the vas deferens, into the urethra here, and finally out through this opening which is referred to as urethral meatus. So this is the sperm pathway. Very, very important. The sperm pathway sequence has been asked in 2019, 17 regional paper. There is 2016. There are lot of times this particular question, the sequence of the sperm pathway has been asked. So pay attention to this. So the accessory ducts, according to the NCERT text, we are talking about rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis and the vas deferens, right? So first, what do these seminiferous tubules do? They are the ones that are secreting the sperm. Where does that sperm go to? In between, actually there is smaller tubules called tubuli recti. Not mentioned in your NCERT text, but just for in your information I am giving you. Tubuli recti give it to a network of tubules, rete testis. From the rete testis you can see there are many tubules that are arising. What are these called? Vasa efferentia. From vasa efferentia, where does it go to? Very, very highly coiled epididymis. Why do we call it very highly coiled? Reason for it, you expand this, it goes about 6 feet. You heard it right. So that is how long it is, nicely tightly coiled and packed in the structure into the vas deferens. So here I have more details of the epididymis alone. So what comes out from this vasa efferentia? Caput epididymis. You can remember the head, captain, caput epididymis. Most of it is formed as body, corpus. Wherever you come across this term corpus, meaning body, right? Corpus epididymis, and then it gives away to a tail-like cauda. Cauda means tail. Cauda, epididymis. These are the 3 regions of the epididymis. Apart from this, let me also give you the urethral 3 parts which is not mentioned. Let me go to the previous slides here. So the urethra also has 3 regions to it. It is something that is passing through this prostate gland. So what do we call it? Prostatic urethra. And there is a little of it that is coming out, very little in length. It is called the membranous urethra. From membranous, the very, very long passes through the penis. So what is it called? Penile urethra. So prostatic urethra, membranous urethra, penile urethra. Longest region definitely is penile urethra. Overall, it is something which is about 20 centimeters. The penile urethra is something that is, why I'm specially mentioning this particular dimension is in comparison with female, it's quite long, where it's only about 3 to 4 centimeters. Here it is 20 centimeters. And what's the advantage they have? They are who are protected against UTIs. So that's why you see most of the women suffering from UTIs, urinary tract infections, because of a smaller urethra compared to males who are usually immune to this, who are more lesser risk at those of the UTIs, right? So accessory glands, what are the 3 kinds of accessory glands? There are seminal vesicles, the leaf-like structures, obviously they are 1 pair. This prostate gland, this is only 1, very, very, very important, unpaired. Which is the unpaired male accessory gland? That will be prostate gland. What are these small glands referred to as the bulbourethral glands, which are again 1 pair. These are also 1 pair. Bulbourethral glands are helping with the lubrication of the penis. The seminal vesicles are the ones which are helping with the production of the fructose, prostaglandins, and these are some things which are helping with energizing the sperm. Fructose is something that's produced by no other structure in the human body, literally no structure in the females. Very, very important component that's looked for in the forced sexual intercourse in the rape cases, right? So this is one that is responsible for the fructose. Prostaglandins, these are actually helping with the swimming of the sperm against the gravity in the female reproductive system. So they are doing their function after the sexual intercourse, and these are also secreting certain clotting factors. Why do you think these clotting factors are required, different from that of the blood coagulation? So that the sperm is something that is in a mass and it can be easily transported into the female. Immediately after the ejaculation, about 4 to 5 minutes, the sperm gets coagulated. Later it gets decoagulated again due to certain factors again secreted by the prostate gland. Alkalinity is maintained because of various enzymes. Seminal plasmin, for example, of prostate gland is antibacterial. Certain phosphatases, amylases, all those enzymes are secreted by the prostate gland. Alkalinity is maintained. Remember, it's the same pathway through urine as well as semen is passing. So acidic environment must be maintained alkaline. It has to be made alkaline. Of course, urine is not passed while the sperm is being passed, because urethral sphincter is something that is taking care of that particular regulation. So that point of time urine is not released, but only the semen, right? So the external genitalia is something that consists of penis. It has an enlarged structure at the end. You can see from this particular picture, this enlarged end is what is referred to as the glans penis, and it has a loose fold or outer covering, what is referred to as foreskin or the prepuce. And look at another nice picture that is drawn for you to understand the structure. There are 3 bundles or cylindrical tissue inside the penis, right? So the dorsolateral ones are referred to as the corpora cavernosa, and the midventral one is what is referred to as corpus spongiosum. Through this is the urethra passing. And what are these spongy erectile tissues helping with? They are helping the penis to become erect. So the blood is actually rushing into these vessels during the sexual pleasure, erotic thoughts or smell, or some sexual pleasure that is instigated, during which the blood is rushing into the spongy erectile tissue, making the penis erect so that the ejaculation can occur. In case that's not occurring, that is also an infertility problem, which is what is referred to as the erectile dysfunction, right? And so with this, I just prepared a little quiz for you from this particular session, so that you recheck what you have got from this particular session. Nerve cells are, now I know by now you are able to answer that question, which are the cells which are helping with the nourishment of the sperm? Nothing but the Sertoli cells. Because they are helping with the nourishment of the sperm, what are we referring it to as the nurse cell, right? Label the gland that helps in the lubrication of the penis. Which is the gland that helps with lubrication of the penis? You know that answer. I know you are answering it as bulbourethral glands. From this particular structure, these are the bulbourethral glands, right? Next question, here we go. What do Leydig cells secrete? Quite simple question. Leydig cells secrete androgens. Androgens are the hormones secreted by the Leydig cells, right? And here is the little MCQ that is given, where you know the other options. Ejaculatory duct. Now ejaculatory duct is something that is formed by the combination of, let me go back and give you the structure there. So if you look at it, the vas deferens is something that is going all the way to the urinary bladder. It receives this duct from the seminal vesicle, right? It receives a duct from the seminal vesicle, and to this comes and joins the vas deferens, and together they form the ejaculatory duct. This is a very important thing that you understand. So this is the ejaculatory duct that is formed by a combination of duct coming from the seminal vesicle and the vas deferens. So these two together form the ejaculatory duct. So that was the question that's given There, ejaculatory duct is a combination of the duct coming from the seminal vesicle and the vas deferens. Then cryptorchidism is due to, this is a condition that is due to the failure of descent of the testis. If the testis doesn't descend, which is otherwise supposed to be in a natural phenomenon, is what is referred to as cryptorchidism, and this is something that is quite treatable, whether it is hormonal treatment or a little surgical treatment that's usually given before the baby is 1, and this is not a condition that is to be worried about. Now we have our medical help, which you people are also going to come up with once you are past this particular hurdle, which is the Neet examination, right? So as I always say, keep learning, acquire knowledge. Learning should be infinite and fun, and happy learning to you all.